And now, our feature presentation.
Bitcoin's boom time continues back above 10,000. Get this. If you're not paying attention, you probably should be. Bitcoin is now up 44% this year. So, Tim, we went from like 0 to 20,000, back to 4,000, now back to 10,000. Is anything different this time around?
I think what's different is, first of all, you've shaken out a lot of weak players. You've shaken out a lot of the momentum. You've certainly gone further down the road in terms of institutional follow through. You've certainly had major banks in the world talk about their own blockchain platforms. You've had a dynamic where money's become freer than free. Gold's been rallying. Why shouldn't Bitcoin be rallying?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that last part, if you talk about a Fed just gone nuts as Guy thinks it has, or all the central banks going nuts, I mean, that's part of the bull case for Bitcoin, plus institutional interest as well.
Yeah, but listen, so we got rates lower, we got gold up, we got utilities up, we got Bitcoin up, so it's all acting like safe haven. That just takes me back to the MAGA trade, what's going on there. That just seems very bifurcated in this market where they're doing that heavy lifting, but these other things that we identify as safe haven assets have really perked up
Possible
in 2020.
coronavirus impact here. I know a lot of the buyers come from that part of the world, and you wonder if they're looking to protect their money, maybe hiding it in Bitcoin.
Perhaps, but I do think, to Karen's point, I believe that in a world where central bankers are tripping over themselves to devalue their currency, Bitcoin wins. In the world of fiat currencies, Bitcoin is the victor.
It's open.
Hello.
Yes. It's so good to meet you. I've so enjoyed our conversations at Mr. Jacobs. Please, come in.
So Ripple received its stash of XRP when it was founded. The original creators of the XRP ledger gifted their XRP to the company, and the company holds right now something like on the order of 65 billion XRP. To provide some predictability in the supply of XRP, Ripple has taken 55 billion of those XRP and locked them in an on-ledger escrow. And that essentially behaves kind of like a smart contract. It releases the XRP at a predictable rate that's greater than the rate at which Ripple has been using XRP in the past. We don't anticipate that that's going to correlate to any increase in the rate at which we use XRP, just from the fact that the release rate is higher. Before, we had no restrictions. So adding restrictions certainly wouldn't be expected to increase that release rate. And the plan is that when there's leftover XRP at the end of each month, we'll just lock it back into an escrow, releasing the first month in which there is no escrow. The escrow doesn't really have a counterparty. To the extent that there's a counterparty, it is the XRP ledger. It behaves very much like a smart contract. The ledger feature that it uses is called escrow, and it's also useful for sort of secure payments where you lock XRP up to be released to someone when they meet some condition. So our escrows just don't have any condition except a certain time passing, and after that time the XRP releases. And that provides some level of predictability in the release of the XRP supply. But it also ensures that Ripple has an incentive to promote the stability of the network and the utility over the long term.
All right, so
Treasury Secretary Mnuchin here today testifying about the President's fiscal year 2021 budget.
Thank you very much, Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Wyden, and members of the committee. I'm pleased to be here with you today to discuss the President's budget and the Treasury Department's top priorities.
Yes, well, I believe that to them, quite possibly, time is one moment.
So if the first machine was a tether, then what does the new machine do?
To a distinct topic, but a really important one, and it's the emergence of cryptocurrency and the challenges that creates for the United States government in various ways. So these technological advancements in the increasing interconnectedness of our world financial institutions is addressed in the President's budget.
Well, I believe the new machine will allow them, for lack of a better word, access to our dimension. Think of it as if they are watching a video cassette, and we are the characters in that story, and we can move from the beginning through the middle to the end. We can only experience things as such. The first machine was the remote, with which they could jump around at any point and watch the story.
Proponents of crypto believe it can benefit the everyday consumer by lowering transaction costs for online purchases and increasing protection from identity theft and breaking down various financial barriers.
But they couldn't affect us. They couldn't alter. They couldn't interact. But I believe this new machine will enable them to reach. And the closer we get to the machine's activation, the stronger we're feeling its effects. They're becoming more present. The effects of the machine are rippling. As soon as the machine is activated, the time is bleeding.
How does your department, Mr. Secretary, plan to respond to this rapidly evolving technology of cryptocurrency and other digital assets?
Well, thank you. And as you've commented, we're very supportive of bringing the Secret Service back home to the Treasury where it started and the efficiencies of having it together. We're spending a lot of time on the issue of cryptocurrencies and digital payment systems. It's a crucial area. And there's a lot of different things that get grouped together into this one area. So let me just be brief. But on pure cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, and there are others, we want to make sure that these are not used as the equivalent of secret bank accounts. So we are working with FinCEN, and we will be rolling out new regulations to be very clear on greater transparency so that law enforcement can see where the money is going and that this isn't used for money laundering. There is another component of the market which people refer to as stable coins, where we do think technology can be used to reduce payment processing quite considerably, particularly for small dollar payments cross-border. And then there's a third component that people are looking at, which is central bank digital issued currency. That is something that Chair Powell and I do not think the U.S. needs to consider now, but could consider again down the road.
Backwards, there's an overflow of effects moving out to the future and to the past. The closer we get to that moment, the more concentrated the ripples are, the more powerful they become.
As opposed to continue to grow again. So we're putting out a plan today that over a period of, not that long a period of time, brings our budget and our deficit down to what it should be, which is close to zero. And I think people are going to be very impressed by it. We're not touching Medicare. We want to keep Medicare. We're not touching Social Security.
The Fed's real-time payment system, as you may recall, I was never convinced that this was a great idea for the Fed to pursue this, since we have a private sector system in place, up and running, and really encouraged by the Fed back in the day. But I get the Board of Governors has made its decision. Here's my question for you. A number of constituents have expressed the concern that we're going to end up with two systems that are not fully interoperable. And to the extent that employers and financial institutions and other participants would be plugged into different systems. If they are not fully interoperable, there's a real concern that that is going to, at a minimum, diminish the ability to innovate in these systems going forward. So I guess I'm wondering if you could just briefly, because I do have several other topics, just address the question of whether it is a priority of the Fed to ensure that the FedNow system will be fully interoperable with the clearinghouse system.
I think full interoperability is the goal. It will be challenging to reach it, but it's high on our priorities to assure interoperability. It's something we're very focused on in the design stage.
Everything about them so fascinating, so mysterious. Like the encryptions, for example. What about them? Well, your solution to the decryption was different to Beth's, which was different to mine. How can that be? They know nothing of our reality. How can they encrypt something for us to decipher? It's no. They put something out there that was different for each of us.
Mr. Secretary, how will the Treasury's proposed budget increases assist the department in monitoring suspicious cryptocurrency transactions and prosecuting terrorists and other criminal organizations financing illicit activities with cryptocurrency?
Well, first of all, thank you, and thank the committee for the generous support on us funding increases in these areas over the last several years. We've really built up a very dedicated career staff. And specifically on cryptocurrencies, we are spending a lot of time on this on both an interagency basis and with the regulators. We're about to roll out some significant new requirements at FinCEN. We want to make sure that technology moves forward, but on the other hand, we want to make sure that cryptocurrencies aren't used for the equivalent of old Swiss secret number bank accounts. So we share your concerns, and you'll be seeing a lot of work coming out very quickly.
Well, thank you, and I would look forward to continuing to work with you about that.
Yet always came to the same result. It's quite embarrassing because I can't even begin to explain that. That's why ARIST hired multiple cryptographers. Oh, and I have another theory. I don't think it was radiation that caused our little friends here. No, they are rather physical side effects of altering our perception of reality. Yes, like a challenging puzzle.
We do not move to add digitization to the dollar as a feature of those timeless historical properties of currency. I worry a lot that a digital yuan could ultimately replace the reserve currency, just as we replaced the pound in the last century. So, Ms. Shelton, could you talk to us a little bit about what you on the Federal Reserve Board and what the Federal Reserve as a whole could do to help protect the dollar's reserve currency and especially address the need to have digitization as a potential property of the dollar?
Thank you, Senator Cotton. I think that's an extremely important discussion, and I agree with your assessment. I think we're compelled to think about that. The dollar is the most important instrument of soft power that we have around the world. And yes, it is the dominant reserve currency, but we can't rest on our laurels in that regard because, as you suggested, rival nations are working very diligently to have an alternative to the dollar. And while they can't beat us as a currency, they can add features because there is a demand for digital access to banking services, to payments. And I think it's very important that we get ahead of the curve to ensure that the dollar continues to offer the best currency in the world, the most respected, the most utilized. And we need fintech innovation to keep us going in the right direction and to be a leader instead of passively observing what other countries might do.
These ripples we are feeling are likely from an event that has already happened. As you know, the machine's activation may already have happened some point in our future.
System readings are fluctuating, becoming irregular. There's some strange light coming in from all around up ahead. Oh wow, this is incredible. The void is starting to destroy everything. Here we go.
In all of time, we are losing your transmissions. galaxies in space.